Hi, this is Jaya. In this video, we shall see the summary of Hunger, a poem by Jayanta Mahapatra. This poem, Hunger, clearly says about the need for food, and the other hunger is the appetite for flesh and sex. And both the need for food as well as the appetite for flesh and sex are animal desires. In this poem, we find the plight of a fisherman. He is not able to earn enough money from his fishing and he is starving. And this hunger compels this fisherman, who is a poor father, to kill his consciousness and attract clients for his daughter. And because he has made his daughter a prostitute, and only through that prostitution they are getting some money to get food and quench their hunger, that is physical hunger. And here the poet begins by says that he couldn't believe that he had such strong sexual desires at that time, and actually he was striving for sex. He is on a boat with a fisherman who says to him, "Will you have her?" Here this her refers to the daughter of the fisherman, whom he offers to the poet to have sex with. It is quite strange because we never find a father ever offering his daughter to strangers for quenching their sexual thirst. While asking, the fisherman actually tries to show off that he is carelessly trailing his nets. But he was in no way careless. His nerves were stretched and white bone was thrashing his eyes, meaning that he was quite curious for the poet to say yes. That is, he wanted the poet to say yes, and that the main reason is he and his daughter had nothing to eat and were starving for food, and therefore he was offering his daughter to the poet so that the poet could quench his sexual hunger, and from the money which he gives he and his daughter can quench their physical hunger, that is, they can buy some food and eat. The poet who says yes follows him across the sprawling sands, and the mind of the poet was thumping because his flesh is sling, meaning that the poet's mind was throbbing and his skin was trying to support it like a sling or the bandage used for supporting a broken arm. The poet thought that this is real sin and his sin will be forgiven by burning the house that he has lived in, because he realizes that what he is doing is a sin. Then the silence of the poet was grabbing him, and it seemed that the silence has gripped his sleeves. Maybe it was his nerves that was stretching. The fisherman looked at his old nets, which had caught nothing but the foam from the sea. That is, if he had got some fish, he would have sold the fish, and from that money, he would have brought food for him and his daughter. But he was not able to catch any fish, and that is why he is doing all these things. And now they reached the fisherman's hut, which was quite dark and open like a wound, depicting the worst condition of their poverty. The wind here also symbolizes storm, which was going into in the mind of the poet. Days and nights means that it was happening all the time without stopping. While entering the hut, the leaves of the palm trees were scratching his skin. We can feel that it is a metamorphical sense where these palm tree leaves were trying to stop the poet from committing this sin. Inside the roughly built hut, the oil lamp had confined and fastened the arse to the wall. It probably means that the time has been stopped in the hut. There is no day but only night in the hut. And this night is not only in physical terms but also in the metaphorical sense, because there is the darkness of sorrows over the fisherman and his daughter. The smoke coming from the lamp was filling his mind, and he was feeling either dreamy or helpless. The poet hears a fisherman say, "My daughter, she's just turned 15. Feel her. I'll be back soon. Your bus leaves at 9." So we understand that the girl's age is only 15, and that is the age when a girl is in her charm. And feeling her means the fisherman is telling to quench his sexual hunger by having sex with his daughter. "I'll be back" mean that the poet is now free to do with his daughter, and that the fisherman will not be outside, which may actually disturb the mind of the poet, and therefore the poet can do whatever he desires. Here we find that the poverty and the extreme hunger had made the fisherman a pimp for his own daughter, for which in exchange he will get some money, and with that money he can buy food. The way the fisherman pursues the poet to have sex with his own daughter makes the poet feel as if the sky has fallen on him. The poet finds a girl who is young, but she is malnutrition and so very thin due to poverty. Seeing the poet, she opens her worm like legs as she is very weak and young for the poet to make her his sex slave. At this stage, the poet knows for the first time about the other hunger, that is, opposite of a sexual hunger which comes from an empty stomach. And the poem concludes with the speaker's lasting sense of guilt, helplessness, and psychological torment. Now, let's read the poem. It was hard to believe the flesh was heavy on my back. He says, suddenly I felt as though all my flesh was weighing so heavy on me. The fisherman said, will you have her? Carelessly trailing his nets and his nerves, as though his words sanctified the purpose with which he had faced himself. And why his flesh was weighing so heavy on the poet is, one fisherman had asked him, will you have her? Here, have her is, will you have sex with her? And the way he said was actually he tried to say carelessly while he was trailing his nets. But actually it was not the same. He was trying to hide his real feelings. I saw his white bone thrash his eyes because the poet was able to see his white bone thrashing his eyes. The poet should have said yes because the next line says, I followed him across the sprawling sands. Sprawling sands means the sand which is spread all around. My mind thumping in the flesh's sling. It was as though his flesh all weighed tied with one sling to his body. Hope lay perhaps in burning the house I lived in. Hope here means saving him from the sin. Maybe the poet realizes that what he is doing is sin, and he feels that maybe if my house is burnt down only, I will be redeemed from my sin which I am going to commit. Silence gripped my sleeves, his body clawed at the froth. His old nets had only dragged up from the seas. And he was very silent, he was not able to speak. And here this fisherman was pulling up the old nets because there was no fish at all in the net, only it was froth which had collected from the sea. In the flickering dark, his lean-to opened like a wound. The wind was I, and the days and night before. And he went to a place which was his hut, and the door was almost like a wound. All this shows in what poverty these people were living. And he says it was only days and nights means everything was the same. It was running so fast. Palm fronds scratched my skin. The palm with which the leaves which they had made the roof was scratching the poet's skin. Inside the shack means that hut, and oil lamps played the hours bunch to those walls. There was an oil lamp, and it was as though the hours were not at all running. Over and over the sticky suit crossed the space of my mind. I heard him say, my daughter, she's just turned 15. Feel her. I'll be back soon. Your bus leaves at 9. So the fisherman said, this is my daughter, and he also says she's only 15. You can feel her means you can be free with her, you can have sex with her. And he says, your bus leaves at 9, meaning I will come back at 9, and you also come out by 9 o'clock because you have to catch your bus. The sky fell on me. When he heard these words, the poet felt as though the sky fell on him, and the father's exhausted while he could understand the situation of the father who had no other option to buy food other than to make his daughter a prostitute. Long and lean, her ears were cold as rubber. This girl was looking so thin. She opened her wormy legs wide. I felt the hunger there, the other one, the fish slithering, turning inside. And she opened her legs to welcome him. And he could understand that she was doing all this out of the hunger which she had. And that hunger was food. And here the poem ends. If you have anything more to add on to what I've said, please write it in the comment box. Like the video, share it with your friends. And if you have not subscribed my channel, please subscribe and support. Thank you.